Nicely done. Hey, welcome everybody. Come on in. The water's fine. Dive right in with us. As you come in, if you can, I don't know why it brings us such joy to see where everybody's from, but it just does. So as you come in, put your name and where you're from in the chat so that we can make connections to you and find ways to connect with you. So again, welcome, name in the chat, where you're from in the chat. Somebody start us off. Anybody? Oh, hi, everybody. See, this is what we like to do, right, Kata?
Yeah,
I actually think
really
you've actually
fun.
driven here from like Spokane and Kentucky. Oh, Kentucky, how's your weather? Oh, Mackenzie.
Mackenzie, we got
Did you get a ton of rain?
Mackenzie's too, and it's just fun to comment on where everybody's from too. That's the other.
Karen Slutsky, my very first job, it was in PS 199 in Long Island City. Oh, we got a couple of New Yorkers. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. California. California, you drove a long way to get here. Welcome, friends. I always say this is like the least welcoming welcome, but if you would not mind keeping your microphone off, and if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Either questions or, quite honestly, this night is meant to be as interactive as possible, and as much as we're all going to learn from Jen and Elise, we'd also like to learn from you. So if you have anything tried and true, something that they say sparks something in you, throw it in the chat. I always say teachers are all about plagiarizing and customizing whatever we learn from each other. So welcome. My name is Virginia Quinn Mooney, and I am going to speak as little as possible because I'm really personally really excited to hear from Jen and Elise. This is this evening and these these past events has been a partnership between the Goyen Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization, and Kata does a remarkable job in recruiting teachers and teacher leaders to become fellows in the organization. And what we've done, we've partnered with what I should have learned in Facebook college page, which has now just become known as the Big Page. So together we've been trying to bring these educational needs. I always say teachers, we're always in, right? Whatever's asked of us, we're in the game. We want to do it, but we always follow it up with, but what does it look like? So tonight, that's what I'm going to hand it off. And Jen and Elise, I should have checked this with you, but I'm going to have you introduce yourselves because I don't want to leave the important stuff out. You know what's more important than I do. So in any event, tonight, as you know, because you registered and you're here, is writing instruction and what does it look like in the older grades, which I can't wait to see what my kids end up doing with you guys because I teach first grade. Kate, are we good? Did I leave anything out?
Yeah, I think everything that sounds great, Virginia. My only plug is if you're here to learn about writing in third and fifth grade and upper elementary school, you're going to want to learn about fluency in third and fifth grade and beyond, even up to middle school. So consider registering for our last one of these sessions. It's going to be in, I think, May 7th, same time, where we're going to be hearing from two other former Goyen Literacy Fellows, Erin Grossman and Kira Butts, about their fluency routine. So I'm using this to shamelessly plug that opportunity. Otherwise, I'm gonna
No shame in the plug. No shame in the plug. All right, thanks. Jen, my friend, can't wait. It's all you.
So I am Jen Dove. I am from Falks Run, Virginia, and we're in the middle of nowhere. And so I teach at a small school called Linville Edom Elementary School, and I teach third grade, and this is my 17th year of teaching there. Elise, you want
to? Sure. My name is Elise Frank. I'm in the Bay Area, California, and I teach fifth grade there, and multi-subject class and with a large population of English language learners and newcomers at a Title I school. In Richmond, California. Richmond, Bay Area, East Bay.
Awesome. Are we ready to get going? All right. All right. So really quick, we are here tonight to talk about when students write about what they're learning and reading. They're able to express their thoughts and back them up with textual evidence. Students feel more confident about their writing when they have background knowledge to support their thoughts. So providing explicit instruction in writing and scaffolding up allows students to be successful writers. So chunking the steps in the writing process helps slow it down so students don't feel so overwhelmed. So we're gonna take a look. Over the past few years, I've worked to incorporate writing into my daily instruction. So my students are writing for multiple reasons, rather it's like formal or informal. What I want you to see this evening is that all students can write. What you will see in the way I teach is that I scaffold for all kids by providing graphic organizers, models of writing, exemplars, text to support their work, checklists for self-editing, and peer feedback. So before starting any writing, though, I leverage the power of language, and we discuss what we're going to be writing about. I know lots of people say, well, my students can't do that, or, well, you must have a high class. Wrong. My kids are not high, actually. I have several SPED students. I have several EL students, several that are just barely hanging on by a thread. They're just kind of in the middle of the road. But they all know that saying they can't do this is not an option. And so by setting the bar high, they're able to achieve it. So on the screen, there's a few ways that teachers can use to incorporate writing into both math and content. So during my part of the presentation, I'm going to be showing you how I guide my third grade students through the writing process. But it's important to remember that writing can also be a great tool to deepen knowledge in math, science, and social studies in the form of quick writes, a brain dump, and even summarizing a math lesson. The picture there is a quick example on how I put writing into social studies. Students had learned about ancient Mali and about how traders would travel across the Sahara Desert to trade their salt and gold. And so then I had my students take the perspective of a salt miner, and trader, and write a letter back home to their family. And so they had to talk about what it was like to be in the Sahara doing that particular job. And then we just kind of made them dirty so they looked fun, like they were actually from the Sahara. So for the past few years, I have been using Beacon Wisdom. But this year, my county adopted Amplify CKLA. It doesn't really matter which one I'm using, because the process has stayed the same that I use to walk my students through writing. So over the past several years, I've taken bits and pieces of graphic organizers that I've found and that I've liked and adapted them by making my own to meet the needs of my students. To get started, we plan what we're going to write about. This is related to what we've been learning so that the students can back up and prove their thinking. This is a quick video that we need to do is now we need to write a topic paragraph. This might have 3 to 6 sentences. Okay, I don't know. We all write different. So let's look at one together and talk about it before you write your own. Okay, so right now, are you writing? No, you're listening and watching. Okay, so on your packet it says topic paragraph. It says state your opinion and what you are trying to persuade your audience into believing. All right, and so up here's where we're going to write our point of view, and down here's where we're going to put our reasons why. Okay, to get us going. All right, so I said the body is made up of many systems that keep the body going. I think the skeletal system is the most important body system. How many sentences do I have there? 2. Okay, so I'm not asking for a lot there. Then I said the skeletal system is the most important because the skeletal system gives your body shape, one reason, protects other parts of your body, the second reason, and bone marrow is found inside your bones, the third reason. Okay, so up here in my point of view, I talked about which system is the most important, okay, And then down here, I gave you 3 reasons why. You need 3 reasons. Each, just 3. Only 3 reasons. Because each reason is gonna be its own paragraph. So here in a little while, when we move on, we're only gonna talk about it first. I'm only gonna talk about how the skeletal system gives my body shape. That's all my first paragraph is gonna be about. Okay? My second paragraph then is going to be about how it protects other parts of my body. And my third paragraph is going to be about the bone marrow. Okay? All right? Yay? Nay? Yeah? All right. So I'm going to let you work. I'm going to give you a book because you might need that to help look up your system. Okay? And figure out what are the reasons and which one are you doing that for them. Okay, when you're done with just this topic paragraph, you're not moving on to any other section. Okay, so this is only that first page. You are going to raise your hand and you're going to show it to an adult and we will check it for you and tell you, do you need to add more? Okay, if it's not a complete sentence, we're going to have you make it complete sentences. All right? Because they're getting them going. I had them for that topic paragraph there. I had broken it into those 2 parts, even though it was 1 paragraph, so that they could understand that we're going to state our reason, and then these are going to be how we're going to support which one is going to be our the most important nervous system that they thought. And then it's kind of hard to tell there, but I also have them write in complete sentences on their plan so that when we go, it really kind of just flows in together and it takes a lot of work later. Good. All right. And this video, you're going to see that while the students are writing, I'm kind of circulating around the room to make sure that they're all getting the knowledge part of their paper correct by reading over what they have and providing the support that they might need there. Kind of just doing that adult piece. I'm done. All right, it's like for me to check. The nervous system is the most important. The nervous system is the most important because the nervous system, so as much as it's to the brain, can sense what's happening and it controls your body. Very good. You may go read until we're ready to move on. So I continue to use the PowerPoint that I had made, and it matches their packet that they're working there, that they're writing their stuff in, to complete their plan. And we do this over several days usually. They start to get the idea after writing like their second body paragraph, and I'm usually able then to like release most of them to work independently on the rest of their plan while still like checking in with me, or sometimes there's an assistant in the room while we're working before they keep going. So once they have finished their plan, they use the checklist in the back of their packet to look over and kind of self-edit their own work before ever starting their draft. When they're starting their draft, I walk them through how to take their plan and then turn it into paragraphs on line paper. Since students wrote in complete sentences on their plan, this step is usually actually fairly easy, and often they're able to keep going on their own without my help. After they are finished with their draft, I pair students up to edit each other's work. No, this is not perfect. And we spend a lot of time talking about how to do this and what to look for. But as the year goes on, it gets better and better, and I kind of add more pieces to that editing. See a little later. And then students, then after they've edited, they go back and they work really hard actually to write their final and make it their very best work. So you can see there, and that's actually one of my SPED students that you see the most the paper there for. The little girl's got her head up. It's actually, so that's what I'm saying. They're not all high students by no means. And then once they finish their final, we show them off so that students, they can read their papers to like their Panther Pals, which is like their book buddies. Sometimes they record themselves reading their papers on Seesaw, and we often share them with each other or in small with the other third grade class. And then hang them in the hall for others to see, because they're usually very proud of their work that they've put in. So showcase. Another CKLA unit is Ancient Rome, and Ancient Rome is also a Virginia law for third graders. So after learning about Rome, my students wrote a 3-paragraph essay on who they would build a statue to honor. I again provided a template for students to use when planning and the slides that we used to walk through the process. So since they weren't going to be using text evidence to support their thinking, the layout of this paper was a little different. So that's kind of why I wanted to show you this one too. So we talked about it first, like what was their prompt? Who are they going to be writing this to? And what is the whole purpose of this? And then they quickly just listed their idea and their reasons. For this writing assignment, I also provided them with an exemplar so that they would know what the end outcome should look and sound like. And I gave them this example as well in their package, so they had it to look at. And then students then worked on writing their plan at their own pace, given the provided template. Once they finished with a section, they would let me know and I would check it for them. They could then go on to the next paragraph to plan and write. And again, they were writing in complete sentences. And you'll notice there on a lot of those, I usually gave them the guidance kind of right beside of it. So they knew about how many to put and some examples if needed there for them. And these are just a few examples of the work throughout the process. So this is kind of like, here they are just kind of working through it. I've done some editing on there. And I put check marks so that they knew that page had already been checked and they were good to move on. And as I'm checking those, I'm not checking really for spelling or any of those things. I'm really just looking to make sure they have the content that they need. We'll check for all those other things a little later. So just like before, I provided my students with the self-editing checklist that they have to complete before I will assign them a partner to edit. And this time when editing with their partner, we talked about what constructive feedback was and how it's not really being mean, but it's used to help each other and help us become better writers. And I gave them several examples. One of them being how, like, when my principal comes in to observe me and then, I meet with her, she gives me feedback on how I can grow and do better in my classroom. So they understood that it's not like they were being mean. And this super quick video, and it is very quick. Just a quick video of my students actually peer editing and talking with each other about their papers. And I had heard one student, and it's really hard to hear, but he was telling another student that he had to fix the word stuff because it was spelled wrong. Because the word stuff should have 2 F's, not just one, because of the floss rule. So they really are internalizing and working through that. So after we finished editing, students wrote their final copy. Many of my students came into my room this year as reluctant writers. They were not happy about all the writing that they were going to have to do. But I love how now they really have begun to really take ownership of their writing and they enjoy it. They feel so confident at writing now in the classroom. So for this assignment, I allowed the students then to draw a statue of the person they were honoring, and we glued their drawing and papers together and laminated them so they could take them home and give them to the person that they had made them for. And so you'll love this one in particular because I love this shirt. And her mother does have that shirt, she said. The parent told me she did. So yeah, so that's just kind of a quick rundown of the 3rd grade. And now Elise can take it over.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. In fifth grade this year at my school site, we've been working as a whole school on starting to implement some of the SRSD framework, which is a big buzzword in some parts of education right now. So, since we have limited time, my plan is to talk about the specific components of SRSD that have been the most impactful in my classroom that are implementable no matter what curriculum you're using and are possible to implement tomorrow, whether you're using SRSD with fidelity with your school or not. The four big things that have really been game changers in my classroom is first, similar to what Jen was talking about, the plan that students are making being the stopping checkpoint, that students are not moving on from their plan to their actual writing until an adult has checked that off and approved that. And a big area that I've seen that difference is when they're making their plan, and for us in fifth grade, it's jot talk, it's not the full sentences. It's much easier and lower emotional stress for them to make adjustments or changes to their plan than after they've done all this physical and emotional and intellectual labor of actually writing out. To need to edit and revise and do all that is much more dramatic than being able to make adjustments to that plan. The second big takeaway is internalized graphic organizers that are specific to the different genres of writing. So one of the big shifts in my classroom this year has been teaching students strategies for how I don't give them copies or printouts of graphic organizers anymore. They just have their lined paper, and we've practiced it over and over again how they use the blank paper to make their own organizer, which has been a huge shift for them and for me in the classroom. Um, the gradual release of responsibility, going through and having so much explicit modeling and lowering the cognitive load of writing instruction in the beginning for students so that it's more of a low fail to no fail environment as they're learning what we're expecting of them. And then finally, the SR of SRSD stands for self-regulation. So really being able to model that self-regulation, self-talk, since writing is so challenging. It's such a hard thing that we're asking them to do because it's not just comprehending and understanding the content we've been teaching, it's also needing to implement everything they know about reading, everything they know about letters and sounds and spelling and letter formation and creating words. And your hand gets really tired. And then in fifth grade, we're also typing. So it's finding the keys on the keyboard. So having tools in order to model how this is hard for adults too, and what are strategies we have to self-regulate the experience of what it is to be inside of a brain and a body needing to do this really challenging task. You can go to the next one, Jen. So this is one video
Brianna.
showing this key takeaway.
So we're
of the
looking right
plan
now
being
at the writing you were doing from the beginning of the year till today. So can you read? This is like September of fifth grade, I think. Can you read to us? What'd you write then?
In Esperanza Rising on chapter Lost Heroes, the right 12 was threatened on page 18. Esperanza's house was burning down because of Theo Luis, since he would do anything to make Esperanza and her mom's life harder, because Theo Luis really wanted Mama to marry him since Papa died.
So I'm looking at the writing that you typed up for your paragraph today. What do you already notice just looking at it?
It's longer.
What else?
It has more punctuations and stuff like that.
What else? Because not even just punctuation. What else?
The good starting stuff. And this time I added the title, author, and just
Nice. So I'm seeing your paper. Can you tell us what's here and how did this help you get to that?
this helped me because when I write it, I know like I can put it in there, but then I kind of have to make it longer so it can make more sense instead of it's just jot talk.
Can you show us what your plan looks like? What'd you write for your plan?
On the T. On the T, it says explain why Esperanza helped Martha, and in the page I think it's 208. Martha and her mother hold it. See how it doesn't say R? Then I have to put R when I'm actually writing it. holding hands and couldn't imagine them being separated from each other.
How'd you choose that quote? Why'd you choose that one?
Because it asks how Esperanza helps Martha, so I have to put how Esperanza helps Martha, and this is what Esperanza was imagining in her head.
Nice job. Can you tell us about more parts of your plan?
And then in the first D, it says this shows that Esperanza doesn't want to see Martha and her mother being apart. And on 211, it says no one should have to be separated from their family. From their family. And on the second D, it says this shows that Esperanza doesn't want anybody to be separated. On the E, it says overall Esperanza doesn't want Martha or any other people to be separated from their friends or family.
So for someone who didn't know, when you're saying like TID, for someone who didn't know what that was, how would you explain what those different parts are?
T is a topic, like the main idea, like the main thing you're talking about, and the I, it just shows like a certain piece of information that you need to make the D. The D is kind of showing what, like your ideas, your thoughts, in your own words, and that's the same thing for the second I, D, and E is so, oh my god, and the E is like the ending to your your own idea still, and what she what that's what the E let me just stop there before I keep starting.
You got it. What would you say to other fifth graders who hadn't learned about TIDID? Do you think it's something helpful? Do you think it's something people should learn about?
Yeah, it's pretty helpful because it helps you it helps you transfer the thing into the writing, so it makes it kind of more easier. But the thinking, making this is pretty hard because you actually have to think. But then writing it, you know what to write and what to even add, so it's gonna be easier when you put it onto the laptop. Or anything else, you're gonna write it into a full sentence or paragraph.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brianna.
Yeah, so in that video, the way that she explains it is better than I could explain for a fifth grader why this strategy has been so impactful. And just on a logistic level, it's 29 kids and it's just me in the class. So when they're making their plans, having the plan be the checkpoint is so helpful just organizationally, because the students are all working on their plans on paper. Because we're fifth grade and we're working on typing and all of our standardized testing has them needing to type on the computer, once they have gotten their plan approved by me, that's the point they have permission to take out their computers to start typing. So just that shift helps me be able to just scan the room and see, okay, how many kids are on their computers, how many kids are still working on the plan. And when the plan is really, really strong, I'm confident that what they're typing is going to also be strong. So then I can focus my attention supporting the students who are working on the piece of paper. And then the other part of what she was talking about was having the piece of paper, and we had been practicing over and over that they are working on, this was informational writing. So it was, the acronym that we use is TIDE. So they know that on their paper, all they have to do is down the margins, they write TIDE, and then they know what each of the letters stands for. And one of the huge successes for me was being able to see, especially my English language learners have so internalized the structure that they know how to set up the letters. And even more helpful for the structural part is next to the D, before they even know what their thinking is, they set it up. This shows for either writing overall, and then the T comes from the prompt. So it comes from how we're pulling out the prompt. So it really lowers the cognitive load for the organizational piece and frees up that brain space for them to think about the comprehension of the ideas for what they're actually communicating, instead of needing to spend all this time trying to understand the structure for the writing. And yeah, to the question in the chat real quick, it's also a lot of, they'll work with partners, they'll work with small groups, all walk around and see the different things they're working on. And then when it's a moment when a bunch of them hit the same point all often, similar to what Jen was saying, like they'll partner up to talk about their ideas and then get it checked by me. But it has been surprising that it has been more manageable than I thought it would be to be scanning and giving more feedback in the moment. So it hasn't felt, it's crazy, but it's not too overwhelming. You can go to the next one, Jen.
Hey, Brianna.
So this one is a video of the same type of idea, and we can just watch the first part, but this is more about the internalized graphic organizer in a small group of students who needed some more support. So for how we have
Pick my ideas, organize my notes, write and say more, pow, pow, pow.
Good, so we already did our key pick my ideas with our do what. Our do what today says describe Esperanza and Mama's reactions to Mama's sickness. Now that we've already done our P, what's O? O, organize my notes. Since this is informational writing, what are we going to write to organize our notes? T-I-D-E. Time. Let's set it up. So on our papers, we're writing down T-I-D-E.
It's got to be tied.
T-I-D-E.
What the?
Good question. What do you think? Are we going to do T-I-D-I-D or just I-D?
ID. So we can start. And then this one. Or we can do two for Mama's reaction.
Yeah, we could do two. We could do ID for Mama and ID for Esperanza. Good idea. So we can do T-I-D, I-D.
Oh. Wait, how?
We can just erase the E and write ID, ID. Sophia was saying that way we can do one ID for Mama and one ID for Esperanza. So erase the E so you have room for ID, ID. Nice.
So just talking through and kind of modeling even for them, and it's fun for me to get to rewatch this video because this is back in like October, November, and getting to see them at that time in the year, learning even the spatial awareness and some of those skills, even in 5th grade, as if we wrote in our pencil T-I-D-E, but we actually want ID, ID, we can just erase the E and then write the ID over it and then write the E. And the next one will show our chants that we use to remember the acronym, but the structure of it is I stands for important evidence. So that's the part where they're copying a quote directly from the source. And then the D is this show. So that's when they're explaining. So having the small group conversation to support them in figuring out how do we know if we need one quote or two quotes, and students being able to pull out, oh, like this is asking us to talk about two characters. So we're going to need an ID for this character and an ID for another character, which is really helpful language and organization for them to continue internalizing when we're writing. If the topic is saying two characters, each character needs a quote with explanation, a quote with explanation. You could go to the next one, Jen.
So to start us off, before we start. So far we've done our topic, important evidence, and why do we point to our eyes when we say important evidence?
Because we use our eyes to use vision.
We use our eyes to see it. So is it the important evidence our own awesome ideas that you guys were just sharing? For important evidence?
Yeah.
We just said we're seeing, and I'm saying we're looking at the book. So what do we write down for important evidence?
Whatever sounds good for the page.
I know. Like if, for example, if I found something good that actually explained Esperanza or her mom, we can write that to I, and that will say
Yeah, exactly. So we point to our eyes for important evidence because we're writing exactly what matches in the book. And then, so we have topic.
important evidence.
Awesome. All right. So let's look at
So a huge moment with this group was being able to really pull out with the students. I is important evidence, and then our hand gestures with it is topic is the topic sentence, important evidence, we're pointing at our eyes because important evidence is only a quote. It's what we see and write. It's not our own brain. It's not our own thoughts. Detailed examination, we're pointing to our mouth because that's our ideas. That's when we're talking. That's when we're saying stuff. And end is the chin with the clapping. And even though they're very, very cool fifth graders, the chant they get very excited about and very into. And a couple students were telling me last week, they're like, yeah, when we were first learning that, I was just saying it over and over again walking home. And my mom was like, what are you saying? Like, what are you talking about? Is that TikTok or what is that? And I was like, it's not TikTok. This is what we're doing and writing. Like, it's that catchy. And we'll talk about the brain science of if you're actually saying it and doing the gestures, it's sticking in your brain better than if you're not. And they, even though they're cool, it has been really effective in helping them internalize some of these things. You can click to the next one.
So
So this one just to show they were supposed to be lining up quietly, but instead one of them started and they all started joining in, and I can't get upset if instead of being quiet lining up, we're practicing the mnemonic for how we set up a strong informational paragraph. And there's not enough time in this setting, but just to briefly touch on, through SRSD, each of the different genres of writing has a different acronym that matches. So informational is TIDE, which we worked on a lot because that's text evidence. And then if it's persuasive writing instead of TIDE, we use TREE, which is similar and it's the same structure, but having the different graphic organizers that go with them has been really helpful in supporting student understanding of the ways that the genres are different from each other, because instead of topic, important evidence, detailed examination, and their structure is topic, reasons, examples, ending. So having the different graphic organizers, they are able to set up their plan and organize their thinking in a way that matches each of the different genres. And something that's been really impactful and has shifted my thinking about writing and writing instruction is this is not a strategy or a way that is necessarily going to help support the most creative, most passionate writers. But my goal for my class right now is for all students to reach competency. And once they're able to reach there, then we can push them further. And then they have the tools and then they have the understanding of structure to be able to deepen their ideas and deepen their thinking and understand how to make the writing even more specific to their voice. And they start SRSD in kindergarten. So at my school site, we're aligned K through 6. The acronyms and the chants are vertically aligned. This is our first year doing it, so we're all so excited to see how this changes over the course of the years, where if students are learning these acronyms and how to write in this way from kindergarten, how much deeper the writing and access to that should be in 5th and 6th grade is really, really exciting. You go to the next one, Jen. And now we'll talk more about how to take what we've been talking about and ways to apply it tomorrow.
Yes, so we both agreed that like you have to set the bar very high for students and then help them get there. So like I make changes with each writing assignment as I see that the students need for that. Modeling and scaffolding are so important for kids and being specific. This allows the students to see you putting into practice what you're asking them to do right in front of them. So don't be afraid to make changes for students as needed. I have some students that like he is working right now on forming his letters correctly, but I have to often go down and write it for him, and then he copies it back over because he needs to physically see me make those letters for him. He can tell me everything. He has great ideas, but he needs to see that. And then gone are the days of really writing about just your favorite birthday party. Not every kid, one, has a birthday party, or they're not that exciting. And even if they were, like, there's really no depth to that. So if students want to be like do the fun creative writing, that kind of thing, that's great. I like let them do that during their independent time when I'm pulling flexible groups. But I teach them the difference between fun writing and academic writing. And when we're in the classroom, unless it's one of those down times for that, we're doing the academic writing to show what we've learned at this point. And then really start small. It wasn't built, Rome wasn't built in a day. So model for the students what you want them to write about. Maybe it's just something simple like a little exit ticket. Tell them that you want complete sentences, show them what that looks like, review what it looks like, brainstorm together some ideas of what that might look like as a whole class. Maybe have them think, pair, share together. Anything that you use there. And then give them time to write. Just really making that no fail environment where it doesn't matter what they do, they can't fail at it. It's not wrong. You're just kind of building them up where they are.
Yeah, and to build off of the no-fail environment and the modeling piece, that was a big shift for us with implementing SRSD is it's a lot heavier on stages of teacher modeling. So at the beginning, it's almost 100% teacher modeling, including your internal self-regulation. So for me, it's even saying things like, okay, I would rather really be going to recess right now, but I know it's time to write and I know that I have a strategy to use. So I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay, I'm going to look at the topic. I know the first thing I have to do is read the prompt. So it's really going through a model, narrating the internal dialogue of what's going on in a writer's brain and really creating a no-fail by for those first early models of a new genre of writing. It's me writing it. They're watching, so it's questions like, okay, should I choose this piece of evidence or this piece of evidence? And either one is right. Like really creating an environment where they can't fail because it's really me doing it. And then as the stages progress, it's gathering more and more input, but still supported. So maybe a table group will work together on finding a piece of evidence, or partners will work together in creating a sentence that we tape up onto our group collaborative writing that goes next until they're at the stage where when they really want, where they're able to write because they've been set up and trained on how to do it independently, which is really uncomfortable because that for me, because that goes against a lot of best practice training that I've received in other areas. But the trainer promised that if we follow these models and we do the stages, that the kids would be chomping at the bit, like, put that pencil in my hand, I'm ready, I got this. And to see that happen in the classroom was incredible and made me more bought in to following these stages and to following these steps. And I think also similar to what Jen was saying, both the high expectations and the background knowledge of sharing student work constantly and showing them what we're looking for, like the use of exemplars and using exemplars as a way to both use exemplars that as a class will edit or revise up to make stronger, and using excellent exemplars to really show this is what is possible and this is what we're looking for.
And so we stuck a few resources here at the end. They're all, if you click there, you can make the copies. This one is, let's see, the one of them is like the PowerPoint for each of the ones that I showed, and the other one is like just the writing, just the template, I guess, of the actual like paper part that are there that anyone is welcome to use them. They don't have to be about Rome or the human body. You can really change it to whatever you want it to be about. So yeah. Yeah. It's all you, Virginia.
I was so engrossed in what you guys were saying. I have to tell you, it was so interesting for me as a first grade teacher to watch where they eventually end up like, when I think of my little toothless first graders, it's just astounding to me what you're both able to get from them. But I promise you, I am teaching them complete sentences. They just forget. When I heard you both like still talking about complete sentences, like, it's like, oh, come on, are you kidding? Before we, did I say thank you to you both for your time and expertise? If I did not, sincere thanks. Friends, I hope you all like found something that you can take away and start tomorrow. It's such a wonderful community that Goyen has really fostered here. You know, we're totally all in this together and we do know better. And now we're doing better, thanks to the likes of Jen and Elise. But before we click off, did anybody have any questions that they didn't get in? Did anybody have anything that they do that they wanted to share? Thanks, guys. Hi, Laura. So I'm also in the comments. I have a YouTube channel where all of these past teaching teachers events are housed, and there's lots of K2 stuff there. And now we're just, thanks to these friends, we're starting the 3-5 push as well. So if you're interested in any of that, go check. And this event will be posted as soon as the recording's done and I get myself in gear. But thank you so much for coming, everybody. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Feel free to stick around if there are any remaining questions, but otherwise, have an awesome night and thank you so much, Elise and Jen.
Good night, Michelle. Good night, Heather.